New achievement! You've watched a book review on YouTube! Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video I will be talking about Dungeon Crawler Carl, the first book in this series, and man, was this book really not what I was expecting, but in a really great way. I did the audio for this. I would have to say this is one of those books where really you should do audio. You're just not going to get the same effect doing the physical read. I'm sure you still could read it and do it that way, but the audio performance is really a big part of it. It's all the same person, but there are different voices and some effects in there and things that just really make it a lot more entertaining. This, though, what seemed like it was going to be kind of a silly, lighthearted romp through a dungeon, kind of following that theme, really is a lot deeper than I thought, and the tone and kind of like the emotional impact is darker, and there's a lot more emotional impact than I thought there was going to be with this. So the plot here is basically this like big alien corporation has come in and they have the rights to broadcast the dungeon crawl for Earth. And it's like there's talk about basically how this is really common where planets are basically populated so that after a certain amount of time they can come in, wipe everything out, and then do this big TV event because it's a huge moneymaker for these different corporations. And so it's done that way. Once again, it sounds like it's going to be a little humorous with it, and there's some dark humor here, and bits of it reminded me of that show Future Man, if you ever saw it, which was also funny, but it had a darker tone to it too. But so they come in and they take all of the matter from everything, like buildings, cars, everything, and they completely like destroy it and then reformat it all into the dungeon, and like the whole world is the dungeon. Only people who were outside are able to actually go in. Anyone who's inside, gone, dead, done. And they just kind of repurpose everything from the planet and put it into the dungeon. And so we're following Carl, who had come outside, not wearing any shoes or pants for that matter, to try to get the cat, who it's his ex's cat, Princess Donut, who was out in a tree and so happens to be outside when this happens, as they then go in and are trying to survive the dungeon and just do everything they can to make it through. It's talked that basically if you finish the dungeon, you make it to the final floor, you win, and like you survive and then like get control of the planet or something like that. But it sounds like it's not really something that's designed to be winnable either. And so we get a lot of the things you would expect from like a dungeon crawler. There are, different races, like we were running into some goblins early on, that kind of thing. But it starts to really pick up where you get more of the point of it, see kind of the hopelessness of what's happening, and it really does lean into how dark and like how messed up this actual plot is. You could have easily done this as a comedy, but it really isn't. It's really focusing, and it's a lot more messed up than I thought, especially with some people being reutilized for the dungeon as well, and just kind of the things that the characters have to do to survive, and the mental state of the characters is delved into a bit. And so already I was pretty drawn in, and there were parts where like I really felt the tension as I was going through this book, and that surprised me. Early on I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun, this is kind of silly, but then it's like I realized I'm like, oh no, we're being pretty serious with this too. There's still a lot of like kind of juvenile humor, and because there's like the announcer voice and some of that stuff where they're treating this all like a game, and it's a TV show because that's what it is to them, but we're really seeing what this is like for the humans who are trying to survive, and things were done on a much more serious note than I was really expecting. The narration here is really fantastic, like I said, both for the main character and for the other characters as well. I don't want to spoil too terribly much with that kind of thing, but we also get like the announcer voices, which is what I was doing if you haven't listened or read to the book, with the new achievement and that kind of thing as well. So the voices that are done are really fantastic, and it's not like a full-on like what do they call them, graphic audio, like that kind of thing, but the different voices and like effects that are put on, just fantastic, and still made it a very entertaining read if messed up at some point as well. So I would say with reading this, make sure that you are aware that although there is some like bad jokes and humor in here. It's a lot more of a serious and dark book than you think. It's just delivered in a very entertaining way that also helps you get past it. And it's very human, and you might go through something traumatic, but then, you're bonding and, you can almost forget about it for a moment until, of course, it comes back. The one thing I didn't particularly like is it kind of just ends. It's not even really a cliffhanger. It just kind of ends. And I'm sure it's going to pick up immediately where it left off in the second entry. But I feel like there could have been a little bit better time, so it felt like there was a little more closure. That said, this is literally a series where they're going deeper and deeper into the dungeon and going on the dungeon crawl. So, I feel like, I guess, ending it on a cliffhanger probably would have been the only other option, although it could have been done a little differently, I suppose. But so that's kind of where I'm like, the ending, I'm like, it just kind of ended. But I am really excited to continue this. I'll definitely be doing it on audio because the audio is just really, really great for this as well. But definitely will be continuing and recommend this to anyone who... I feel like you have to kind of be into the whole dungeon thing, which is interesting. But at the same time, this isn't the kind of thing I normally read. And so it's referred to as a literary RPG as well, which I haven't done a whole lot of that, or like the progression books or anything like that. So this was a little bit different, and I still found myself really enjoying it. Just like I said, don't go in thinking like, this is going to be a really fun, lighthearted book, because it does pack an emotional punch as well. And it's handled, I think, really well. It toes the line between just being like, that's really dark and that's messed up, and then it's still giving you enough entertainment, giving you enough light moments to break it up so that it's not super bleak, even though there are definitely those moments just kind of thinking of it. And the book does do a lot to set up kind of the bigger picture as well, because this is a big thing. I talked about this. It's a TV show that's being set up, but there's different companies, different governments, different planets that are involved, and we barely scratched the surface with actually knowing what's actually going on there, but it sounds like it's going to be explored a lot more, and I am here for it and excited too. I'm not sure exactly when I will get to the second book, because I have some other audio lined up, and I still don't get through that much audio in comparison to some people, because I'm still learning and getting to it, but I definitely recommend giving this one a shot. Listen to, if you can do like the download a sample and kind of hear how the audio is done, and I think it'll sell most people. It was a blast while being once again messed up. It's so weird. It's a very entertaining book despite some of the subject matter, and it doesn't get, I feel like, too terribly dark, but at the same time it does, and it's, like I said, it toes the line really well with that kind of thing, but is really, really a great read or listen, I suppose, because once again, wholeheartedly, I think audio is the way to go on this one. There's very few books, I feel like, where audio seems to be the only way. Like the other one was Project Hail Mary. I was told to do the audio of that. I loved the audio of that, and I can't imagine physically reading the book, even though I own a physical copy. I just figured, I don't know that I would ever physically read it, because you get so much more, kind of like that, where you get a lot more, I feel like, and I feel like it might fall a little more flat trying to read physically, because you're not getting all of that extra effect that really, really just gives it that something extra. So those really are my thoughts on Dungeon Crawler Carl. Let me know if you've read this, your thoughts on it, or if you're interested in checking it out. Would love to hear that too. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description, as always, for the Wizard Who Do a Discord. If you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, or really anything at all, it is a lot of fun, and we would love to have you. And of course, if you're enjoying my content, make sure to subscribe.